All right, everybody. People are trickling in. Hello, hello. We are going to be just hanging out for, I guess, another 30 seconds to a minute, and then we'll just get hopping into it. Couple of housekeeping notes. There's a chat. Ask questions as we go, and I will be monitoring them as we kind of go throughout, and I will mark them as questions, and we will be able to de-questionify them and make them answers here towards like
I was like, isn't that just answering the question? Like we're de-questionifying.
De-questionify is what we use. It's the technical jargon.
I love
Everybody
it.
didn't
I
realize
love
that
it.
that was what we're going with. And so, yeah, if you guys, if just to kind of get the chat lively, let's go with anybody put in what you had for dinner last night, and like let's just get the chat rolling. You know, everyone wants to say where you're from in the world, and let's start off with like what you had for dinner last night. I'm gonna go with a burger here, so I'll add us there. So, there we go. We got some. We're gonna have the whole world of food. So
Yeah. You picked like I had such a weird dinner last night because it was like what's left in the refrigerator. Where it's like we have some chicken, some pesto, and cauliflower. Just mix it together in a bowl. So,
awesome. Well, let's go. We're gonna kick it off, guys, and we're gonna hop right into this. So, welcome if you have not read already. We're going to be talking about mastering ad tracking, what's working in your advertising here, what's working in Justin's here, and we're going to be kind of going back and forth, and I'm going to hand this over to Justin from Invisible PPC, and he's going to give you kind of all the inside and outs and ups and downs of how kind of PPC is working in the world right now. And if you do not know who, like I am, who we are, like Media Authentic is a measurement team. So we handle data from companies basically from 5 million to 200 million and some on either end of that, an annual revenue. And we manage their data for them. So we get to like set up a lot of this stuff, but we don't get to push the buttons like Justin's teams do over at Invisible PPC. That's why I called on him and said, hey, can you help us out here and talk through some of the goodies here? So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over, Justin. Feel free to go onto any of the slides you need. There you go.
awesome. Cool. All right. Thanks, JJ. So quick about me. Mainly it's going to be quick because no one actually cares all that much. But yeah, so I'm the president and co-owner of Invisible PPC. That's my LinkedIn. If you find anything I say interesting today, or you just think I'm a cool dude, feel free to connect with me there. That's my actual email address. I'm not like faking it. Like if you also want to get in touch, I will see it. So make sure to take note of those things. It'd be great to make some new connections, some new folks to talk to here. You may know me from, digital marketer, was there forever, about 7 years. Scalable company, which is one of their subsidiaries now. I launched a company called True Conversion and exited it. And then I was also at Teamwork, and actually, that's actually how me and JJ got connected, where I needed some help, like some serious help on connecting the dots between some of our attribution. Hired him and Media Authentic to come in and take care of some work for us, and it was awesome. So when JJ, he and I stayed in touch after I left there. And when he was like, hey, want to do this kind of like webinar podcast plus whatever we called this thing today. And I was like, I'm 100% in. So very excited. If you haven't worked with JJ yet, you absolutely have to. He's a phenomenal dude that really knows his stuff. So what is Invisible PPC? It's a done for you white label service company only for agencies. So we work specifically with marketing agencies. And actually, we kind of go down even a little bit further where we work with people that are primarily in the local service space. You manage your clients. We do the rest of the work. We create the landing pages, set up the ads, do all the ad tracking, report on results, optimize for conversions and all that fun stuff. Yeah, so that's kind of our whole thing. We're doing it for 10 years. Some more proof. My slide was wrong. I need to put 11 in that one. 11 plus years. Just to kind of break down in what we've done, we've had over 165 million in ad spend during that time, resulting in over 8.36 million conversions. This is primarily on the lead generation side of things again. So lots of cool stuff going on and a lot of stuff to share. A lot of the data here is going to be from from our own first party data, especially towards the end with what we're seeing in terms of trends. But yeah, we've been doing this thing for quite a long time. And if you have any questions about, anything that's coming up, please do use the chat. I'm completely unencumbered by practicing for anything. So it's not like I have a script. So if there's something that needs to be handled right then, JJ can interrupt me and then we can kind of dig into it because I think it's best to answer when the question's hot. Just a critical reminder before we really get into everything here. I'm positive everybody knows, like, what is it? I don't think I've ever said it like Gijo or Gigo. I don't know. I don't think you actually say it like that, but garbage in, garbage out. Setting up your tracking correctly needs to happen on day one. And if it's not day one for you and you haven't done this right, or you've kind of like half-assed it, get some help. Bad data is 100% worse than no data, right? No data, you can't draw conclusions, right? With bad data, you can draw the wrong conclusions and they can put you in the wrong direction very, very fast. And depending on like how big of an organization you're working for, just like a standard deviation off from the path you're supposed to be on, as it goes out further, is going to keep you further, like much further away from your end goal. So really, really keep that in mind if you're not confident in your data. And real quick, in the chat right now, how many people are confident in their data set right now? Like if you go in, you're like, yeah, heck yeah, like I know this thing. Like I'm confident in the numbers I'm seeing. Like whether it be in your analytics, in your ad platform, anything, just throw it in. 75. Okay, it's better than 50. But if anybody says 100% and they're not JJ, I'm going to say call BS. But yeah, I think we all kind of have that feeling like it could be better, especially if you're doing full funnel marketing. It's really, really tough. I'm never confident in the attribution. Me and JJ could talk about that for probably ever. Yeah. So anyway, so it's good to see this stuff coming through. So the other tip I have is, optimize as low into the funnel as humanly possible, or as data-ly possible. And as possible is meaning there's enough data to be in any given month for it to be useful for you, right? So like I said, a lot of our experience is going to be on the local lead gen side of things, especially at Invisible PPC. And we have plenty of other data points we can use from like e-commerce, as well as kind of like some and other types of industries, but I'll be primarily pulling from that pool today. But a lot of the times, like we'll talk with agencies or clients and they're going to say things like, hey, Justin, like, well, they aren't talking to me. They're talking to the team. So, hey, whoever's on Justin's team, like, I'd really love to be able to pipe in like sales back into Google ads, which can happen with offline conversions. You can absolutely do that. But the question I kind of always run into, it's like, well, how many sales are you closing each month? And if they're running like between a 2 to 5K budget per month, they're not closing that many sales directly from Google ads, which means it's not going to be a terribly useful scenario for them. Similarly, in the SaaS world, you need to be doing some serious volume if you're doing like 14, 30-day trials, and be piping that data back in for the actual sale to kind of uncover the truth, right? JJ, you know this as well as, I mean, especially with that teamwork, the stuff we were doing too. You could see, like, man, like there were so many, like we could optimize for trials, we could, but it was really, really hard to get that other piece in, and you can make the wrong decisions. Like, yeah, if you want to chime in there at all, like from
and if you're like the word that we talk about a lot, like with our team, is like, is the juice worth the squeeze? And like that can come into play at every level, right? Like if you're just starting out and you're spending your first like $1,000 in PPC, like you don't need to be setting up some type of advanced, like crazy tracking to pipe the data in reverse ETL and hop on one foot and do like the rain dance in order to get it working. Like you have to kind of start and then make sure you're not messing up, because it's way easier to overcomplicate things than it is to get things moving. And we talk about this even with our really big clients of like, we could do this really advanced thing, but like it might not even be useful. Like the juice isn't worth the squeeze. They're going to spend all this time juicing something. And that's like half of the practitioner, like between you and I, is like that we get to be able to say, hey, like this probably isn't going to be worth it, because we have this track record of people that we've either tried, failed, succeeded, not failed, etc. on. So you can kind of guide that ahead of time.
Yeah. And then Jessica's asking here too, it's like, what resources? So you're saying what resources in terms of like how to train up, or like what tools? Because if it's tools, it's kind of simple on day one. If you're kind of getting started, it's like, need an analytics tool, need tag manager of some kind. Like, or if I'm going to do it, just Google Analytics, tag manager, Looker Studio. You need those three things. Like, and you need to, and then make sure you're utilizing like from ad platforms, you're utilizing like, like their conversion pixels and all that fun stuff. JJ, do you have any resources like for people that need to start getting things set up if they're doing it like DIY or like done with somebody?
Yeah, if you want to like learn, we have a whole program called Better Than Data, like .com. If you're interested there, like book a call. It's with me, and I'll like triage you there, or just like find a contact form and say, hey, like my email is jjreynolds@MediaAuthentic, or like, and I'll point you in a direction. Just find me, and Jessica, you can say hey there. So yeah,
cool. Awesome. So that was the first thing I really wanted to get into, because a lot of the stuff I'm going to be talking about in terms of like Google ads specifically, and then also what I'm seeing between like Facebook and YouTube and some different types of Google ad types. And then when I get into the data level, and the only way you can start having those types of things to benchmark is if you're confident in how you're tracking, right? Cool. So let's dig into the basics to start. So why Google? And I mean, our business has been around for 11 years. Me and my business partner bought it 2 years ago. Like, we're an agency that exists just because of Google ads. Like, that's what we do. And because it is the largest marketing platform out there, between search, shopping display, YouTube, where YouTube used to be its own thing. I mean, Google then acquired YouTube, and then now you have like the second biggest search engine. The video on the video side of things became that. So it is a juggernaut. We all know it. We all know that. Like, if you're doing it right, $1 an ad should bring in about $8 in revenue based off of benchmark data. It's not the number one. I think the still the number one, and this is all going to come back to like different how people are looking at attribution. I think email is still pretty high up there in terms of like dollars spent for what you make on that. But email is also working with people who know you. Like in a lot of the cases with ads, like they don't know who the heck you are. They just know they have a problem, especially on Google. And then, the Google Display Network covers 90% of users worldwide. So why even bother with paid ads? You say, hey, Justin, there's like this thing called like organic. Why would I want to be kind of like focusing on paid ads if I could just write blog posts for free and then get them to rank? Well, the problem with that is that it's a very slow roll when you're doing that type of work. So paid ads have the speed side of things. They have a solid platform for you to kind of see what's going on. Whereas like Search Console's rough sometimes. And you can't do kind of more immediate actions in terms of like, hey, is this moving in the right direction? Are the changes I'm doing, is the strategy I'm enacting, is that actually having a payoff, right? Like, so it's not just speed in terms of being able to get results, it's speed in terms of iteration and testing. I don't think there's anything faster than an ad platform that like you can throttle it the way you need to get the sample size that you need in order to actually run those types of tests and make the right decisions. It's less so when you're dealing with things on the organic side. Even if you have a butt ton of traffic already, like it will take a while to prove your point there. Also, and this is just not even really a tinfoil thing anymore, but AI in terms of like what Google's doing with their like generative search and those things, like that is going to decimate the organic side of things. So paid ads are always going to exist. Will they exist in the same layout and way that we see them now? No, they will change, they will evolve, but ads aren't going to go anywhere. So they should be a part of any serious strategy just because of the speed of things, like the speed to market with them, the ability to optimize quickly, and the ability to actually target the people you're going after. So what are some drawbacks? It's expensive. Simply put, it costs you money. It's a hard thing to try to sell to folks as well, because they're like, hey, not only if you're an agency, not only am I paying you, Mr. or Mrs. Agency, or Mr. or Mrs. Media Manager, but I have to pay how much to get some of the results you're saying? So there's a high cost factored into that, and then there's a level of volatility that you don't know like if the results are always going to like maintain, and they won't. In fact, like you might hit like the concept of like the evergreen funnel that's kind of like that prints money. It doesn't exist anymore, and part of me thinks like it never actually existed, and we just look back at that and kind of misremember the old days. But there's always volatility. Like ad networks change their rules, new players come into play. Like I think a good example at Teamwork, like we were spending a ton of money on Google ads, just on Google ads. And then a competitor named ClickUp decided to raise about $400 million. Do you want to know what happened to our impression share? Gone. They could pay more. There's one, I think it's the saying, not a saying, I guess it is a saying, that like he or she who is willing and able to spend more to acquire a customer wins. ClickUp could spend more than us. We lose. So you have to get creative, but the campaigns that worked before didn't, because they could beat us there, right? So there's some serious drawbacks there. The other is, you just can't dabble. You can't be like, ooh, let me just put like a couple $100 into this thing. Like, you have to go in and you have to give it time. You need to be able to get enough data to be actionable, which can be pricey. I talked through the main. I talked through different types of inbound traffic that people are actively seeking with kind of organic, or even with ads, they're seeking you. And then outbound being like, who are you going out towards? And so we're focused primarily today on the inbound traffic side of things. So there's a lot of whole different ad types within the Google atmosphere, right? We all know search. That's kind of the standard one. It's the one that we always all skip to go to the organic results in most cases, except a lot of people click those ads. They make people a lot of money. So I know that's the cynical marketer version of it, but I'll click to over here. So then there's display. These are the media rich ads that follow you around everywhere. You visited an e-commerce site. You're like, oh man, I really want that new, I want a new Ridge wallet. And then you can't get away from Ridge wallet ads for the life of you anymore. They will follow you until the day you die. Video ads on YouTube. Yep, you'll be getting retargeting ads as well as prospecting type ads. There's a little difference in terms of how that game is played based off of search. Obviously, it's not search. It's not going to be as like keyword driven there, because there's still keywords to keep in mind, but it's going to be off of interest based and like the different videos and channels that people could be subscribing to. Shopping, these are just the product ads on Google. Then you have your mobile app specific. Then you have like discovery, which is kind of like the lower tier system. It's like kind of what they all put like into PMax and some other things. And that's kind of what a lot of other stuff turned into. So everybody likes search. Display people still use on the remarketing side. People love video. People love shopping. Then you get down into this area, and that's kind of the inventory that Google's like, we hope you use this. And that's why we created Performance Max. There's all sorts of different Google ad types outside of just the traditional search. So I wanted to make sure you all know about that. And then really, when you're picking these channels, you want to know what your marketing goal is. Before everybody kind of came on the call today, JJ and I were talking a bit about about analytics and tracking, and of course the stuff that nerds talk about. But we were chatting specifically about I brought up an article I read. I think it was in the New York Times that was talking about data science, and one of the lines in it was, oh, they just wade around in data as if they're in a pool, and then they find this solution. There it is. Here's the thing. It just came and hit them in the face. That is not how it works at all. At all. You need to know what your goal is. And then when you're getting into analytics, you need to know what your questions are. And that's the hardest part, is defining that question. But even before then, before you can start analyzing if something's working, you need to know what the heck you want, right? So if you're looking for sales, I just need more sales for my business, you're going to want to be using search, display, video. You can use pretty much all of those. All of them are useful there. Different ones are going to have, different channels are going to have a different effect, right? Like search, you're catching people who are generally in this zone of, hey, I'm product aware or problem aware. That's when you're catching people there. So you're going to get people mid to bottom of the funnel. Display can be a little bit of both. You're going to get people from the remarketing side of things that are, hey, they're super bottom of funnel, or it might just be they visited a blog post of yours and now you're just spamming them with remarketing ads. You should check this thing out. Video ads, it's going to be top, mid, bottom as well. Shopping are absolutely just kind of, that is pure sales at that level. And then PMax, PMax is great when you can really look at the when you're optimizing for the more bottom funnel conversions. Produce whatever you optimize for, PMax will get you it, right? And they will pull from kind of all over the place, but they'll get you that thing. Like when we wanted trials at Teamwork, we spent a lot in PMax, got a lot of trials, not necessarily a lot of customers. I wasn't there. I left before we ran the next PMAX iteration, which would have been for like a customer cohort. Like we want this because we'd finally piped that data in. I'm curious to see how that one actually came out. I need to hit up the folks there to see how that went. Lead gen, similar to sales. Hey, you're going that route with you can touch kind of all of those. Search, display, and video are probably going to be there. Shopping, actually, probably not. I should have removed that one. Website traffic, all. Brand awareness and reach is going to be like display and video. Search is awful for that. It's this is an aside, but whenever like we talk to some marketing agencies, especially if they're newer ones at IPPC, they're like, oh yeah, so I have like this client or that client, and they're perfect. They're locals. They're like dentists, and like dentists are great for lead generation on Google. Like they're great. Google search words amazing for them. It doesn't work well for marketing agencies though. Marketing agencies don't have that problem aware scenario. And if it's a newer marketing agencies, they don't really have the brand recognition of where people would know that they wouldn't have like the product level, like they're product aware, right? So brand awareness is god awful for search. That's actually what organic is for. You can do brand campaigns, but that's more of a defensive play than an actual like, I'm going to expand my business that nobody heard of before. You'll just burn a lot of cash and it's just going to be a bummer. And then app promotions, just use the app setup. So kind of here's examples of all of them for people who aren't familiar with them, like Gmail ads. Those are silly. I don't know who actually clicks those. I don't know people who click those that it's like not an accident. My guess is it's actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I say it all the time. It's like you always want to be at the top of the inbox to be top of mind. Because if you're in the top of the inbox, you're top of mind. That's probably why that's a brand play all the way. So, anyways, you search ads, basic stuff we see all the time. Shopping ads, those are the ones that pop up that then you can choose between. YouTube ads, we've seen them. You have a bunch of different types of them between suggested products as well as like the actual the things that interrupt you versus the pre-roll. A lot of different things you can play with there. Discovery ads and display ads, just following you around. Apparently when I made this, I was looking at red shoes for this example. So whoopsie. So then the Performance Max channels. So I talked about how Performance Max was kind of like everything now. They're like, hey, let's take all these individual things you used to have control on and throw them together. There they all are. So it shows up on YouTube. It shows up on display, search, discover, Gmail, maps. You have not a whole lot of control. This was Google's attempt at kind of black boxing, I think, a lot of things of like, hey, we have this machine where if you give us $1, we might get you more dollars, but we aren't going to tell you how we did it. So you won't know what's working, like which individual thing's working or which one's not, which it can get pretty rough. So I think you can kind of see where I'm coming from like my PMAX verdict. And I need to do this. I need to update this with the new one. We haven't actually run these yet. They have demand gen ads are coming out. They're transitioning into that. We just wrote a post on it, and Qasim from Solutions 8, he actually just released, I think it was Qasim and John released a kind of their take based off of stuff they were doing with some of their clients. So that might be a good thing to look at if you're curious about the demand gen side of things. But yeah, in terms of recommendations for PMAX, if you have like a business with like local foot traffic and you haven't optimized Google My Business, absolutely do it. Without that, don't. If you don't have a physical location, consider it. If you have a well-defined conversion funnel, but other than that, don't. E-commerce, absolutely. If you don't have a defined conversion objective, you just shouldn't be running ads, let alone running PMAX. And then no video assets. You need at least one, so you really can't do that. PMAX will have way more spam, way more spam. So if you're saying, hey, I want to try to, just get more of X, right? PMAX will get you that, but it's outside of sales, it's going to get you a lot of just tire kickers and people that aren't all that real, right? So just something to be aware of there. Additionally, what we're seeing between like Facebook and YouTube, I know I talked a lot about Google, mainly because that's where we have most of our data points, but we have been doing a lot more on the Facebook side of things. I think like 25% of our client base we're running Facebook ads for at this stage. And really what we're seeing there is like Facebook is great for like your top to high mid funnel offers. Because it's less of a commitment. When you're in something that's disruptive, like Facebook, you're disrupting someone's time. You want to make it so it's not a huge commitment for them to have to take. Like the last thing they're going to do on Facebook is like hire a lawyer or get attribution software or do anything there. But what they will do is say like, oh man, like it's like if there's something that's like they do it based off of targeting, say JJ, it's like something you put together. Hey, like Looker Studio templates, blah blah blah. Like check those. Like, oh yeah, that's actually something I need. Then do I have to give you anything? No. Just give us your information. That's great, cool. And then you need to have the marketing automation to follow up on the back end. But yeah, Facebook is phenomenal. It's just more top of funnel, and then great for remarketing as well once you're doing just that type of retargeting. YouTube, I think, is still stronger across the funnel, but tip top Facebook is solid. There's more intent on YouTube. YouTube's much easier setup than Facebook. LTV is higher from what we've seen. Targeting is about the same between the two of them. And then, yeah, we've just seen that it's a shorter period of time to get attention versus skip on Facebook. So yeah, just something I wanted to share as well. And then search captures, like I said, people hear in the consideration, intent, valuation, purchase, whereas like the other two are kind of like awareness and interest, right? So when you're asking yourself why am I doing these advertisements? Why, what's the goal I'm trying to achieve? Make sure that you're mapping correctly in terms of the types of platforms or products within those platforms that they're using. Because even within Facebook, they have, conversion campaigns, like campaigns, traffic campaigns, all those other ones. You want to make sure you choose accordingly for those as well. And finally, there's just a learning time frame with everything you're doing. You have to let it cook. You have to give ads some time. You got to spend it like minimum 90 days on a campaign. And if you're doing anything less than, and that's if you're spending like $2K a month, even if you're spending 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, you need to have a longer timeline, because there are time factors that run into it. Everybody has a level of seasonality. It doesn't matter what business you're in. And you need to be able to solve for those like independent variables that you can't control. All right. So, a lot of stuff covered in that one real quick. And so we're going to be getting to how we approach ads and those things. Any questions or anything kind of come up there? And also, JJ, if you have anything you want to throw in.
No, it's been great. No questions so far. But I was going to say is we ask this to our clients all the time. Like, what are you trying to do? Mm-hmm. Because we sit in this like space in between ads and then like clients. Like we interface with a lot of agencies. And so it's really interesting when the client's like, what are you trying to do here? Yeah. And then we try to get as granular as possible of like, what is this page trying to do? And then you're like, oh yeah, they're going to go from this page. And then you get like this weird, like if like basically like summarizing what Justin said is like, ask like what you're trying to do and then try to map that to what stage of like a funnel of a buyer intent funnel that is. And then you'll find your paid traffic source that you can like run to that. And if you're not asking, what are you trying to do? Then you don't even know if it did it or not. And that's like what we see a lot is like clients come to us where they're spending a bunch of money. And when it stops working, they're like, why did it not work? And no one knows the answer because like the ads team is like, oh, Google update. The website team is like, oh yeah, it's not us, it's this thing. But then like overall is down. But like, what were you trying to do to begin with? And did we map those like numbers, not just the KPI of sales, because everyone has that KPI, like, but of like the conversion rate from page view to begin checkout or page view to viewing the actual order form or whatever it might be between those like micro conversions for to use a marketing slogan or buzzword there, micro conversions on the page. Are you measuring those? And if you don't know what you're trying to do, then like, how do you know if you did it or not?
Yeah, exactly. And actually that's a great transition and kind of like where I'm going next. And it kind of goes into our 2x3 philosophy for ads. I'm going to go back to kind of the Google world here. But yeah, so I'm going to say the only two things that matter in general, and this is really to the client, your boss or whatever. It's like, what's the cost to acquire a customer? What's the average customer value, right? Everybody has that sales number that JJ was talking about. Everybody knows that lagging metric that they need to be measuring. What people don't know are the associated leading metrics. And that's the stuff that you need to be able to talk about. It's not necessarily the stuff that you that you share with like the board, the C-suite, or those things. They care about these. They don't want to get into the weeds, right? So if you can speak to the different leading metrics, so like the micro conversions that are happening throughout the funnel and how they influence here, if you can speak to those in a way that you can actually pull those levers, then you win. But when you're reporting on those things, really all people care about is like, how many more customers do I have? What did it cost to get them? Like, what's the value, right? So really connecting, kind of like knowing that that's what's driving, especially client relationships, and really, and I guess any kind of like any relationship at a business. It's like you need to know and figure out quickly how to influence a lagging metric like this, knowing that it takes a significant amount of time. Right. And so the concept of leading and lagging metrics comes from the 4 disciplines of execution, 40X in kind of like short. If people haven't read that book, I'd highly recommend it. Just because it really kind of makes you start thinking about like how you can measure appropriately and what is measurable, right? So yeah, so if you're looking at, costs and targets, so here's an example of one of our dashboards. Probably not as pretty as some of the stuff that JJ puts out. But yeah, like what did it cost and, how many did we get? The name of the book, Mendy, was 4 Disciplines of Execution. All right. So, and then costs and targets. So we kind of know where our costs are at. You can pull kind of cohort data, or not cohort data. You can pull industry-based data in terms of like average cost per leads, click-through rates, average conversion rates, and those things. And remember, all of these are average. Don't treat it as gospel. It's directional data. Like say if like in this case, let's go back to this one. We're getting, let's say cost per conversions 122. Say we were in the, if we were like in what niche was this in? I think this was, okay, that's for a plumber. Very specific type. But like say we were in the dental space, and let's pretend that's a dental example, right? We directionally, oh my gosh, we're way off, right? So that's where like it's good, like benchmark data and those things. That's why you should be benchmarking your data as you're doing this work and making sure you have historic data to look back on. That's why I got so sad when GA4 got like is like you can have it for like what is it, 12 or 16 months. So that's why you have to pipe everything into.
Yeah, it's 2 or 14 months. So you got either no time or less time. So
yeah,
you won't be able to see user-based data for year over year anymore.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, and that's a huge bummer. So I think things like this, like directional data you can find from industry reports, is going to be helpful. But again, it's not gospel, because like you could have higher, like better landing pages or better targeting or better whatever that's going on that can influence all these numbers. Because if you think about it, and this is how we break down our dashboards for our clients, like it comes down to, can you be seen? Can you get them to act? Can you get them to act on what they saw? Can you get them to convert on that subsequent action, right? So if you have a visibility problem, you'll know it right away. If you're having a acquisition or engagement problem, they're not clicking your ad, so your ad copy sucks, right? If you have a conversion problem, that means your landing page is garbage. You can kind of connect the dots there, right? So that kind of goes back to like how we can look at the how we can take a look at the what is it, the lagging metrics and saying, okay, is it impressions, is it an engagement, or is it a conversion problem? We can figure out those very quickly at a glance. And yeah, similar here. It's like this was just more of a can land into any of these kind of buckets. So that's more there. So what we have done is we actually did this ourselves. This is for if you're not into local marketing or anything like that. This will mean absolutely nothing to you. So I'll skip this quickly. But if you're in like the local spaces, we've identified kind of these types of benchmarks for our industries. It's actually updated quarterly, not monthly. And it's based off of our data from our client base. So pretty useful tool if you're kind of in that area or planning to. So now we did the 2, now it's the 3. There's only 3 things that matter for any ad campaign. It's your targeting, your copy or creative, and your landing page. A lot of ad firms are like, we do these 2 things, right? This is one of the most, if not, I believe, and I'm super biased because I've been in the landing page space for way too long, but landing pages are so unbelievably critical, right? I can't tell you if you have an ad campaign that is the best targeted campaign with the best copy and creative, and you send it to a homepage, it will suck. you need, because there's so many distraction points and so many other points like that. The landing page is what's going to be the game changer for you. So those are the three things that matter for any ad campaign.
Hot take, do you include the navigation bar on your custom landing pages like the normal one or not?
So I've always taught remove it. I have run a few tests where it was inconsequential lately. You don't want to have like the mega menus and those things. If you have like certain things, it's fine. Like I was looking at one today for a plumbing company, and they were sending traffic to their main homepage, and oh my god, like it was, and they also their above the fold section, hero section, was a picture of a guy, and it just said plumbing. I that alone, but I don't think you need to. I remember it was at Digital Marketer when I tested this. This was forever ago, and I used to always teach. Try to get down to as close to a one-to-one relationship as humanly possible, or as much as it's allowed. Because you have you always have to have privacy policies and all these other things. But I remember one time I couldn't get the navigation removed, and I was like, screw it, I'm just going to launch it anyways, and it didn't have that big of an issue because it was fairly low brow. But if I were to kind of make a hard and fast, like it's nice a nice to not have, but I don't think it's gonna break or like be such of a combo breaker. Do you have a take on that, or?
No, I for us, like we have clients that go with like everything under the sun of like literally ones that like just have a video, like classic, like VSL with like just a logo of VSL and like a button. And then we have like other ones that are like just running to normal pages. Like ours usually have it, but we usually are organic. So like it's usually organic traffic, people clicking to it, and then that's a different use case. So like
very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
So I think from ads,
ads probably keep links to a minimum.
Yeah.
But SEO, like, that stuff. And then I had one, there's another one. There's a different company. They were sending all their traffic instead to a landing page to like their SEO page, which is actually even more useless because SEO, you're saying like, this is like emergency plumbing greatness, emergency plumbing, emergency plumbing, that. And you're like, man, that is keyword stuffed to the brim, and it is not helping somebody who you just spent a lot of money to get on that page. Cool. So, all right, digging into targeting. I know, sorry, Jade, I think I'm going pretty long today. So just want to make sure we're good. So I'll dig into kind of like the three things and then share a little bit of data from trends I'm seeing, and then we'll close this bad boy out. But really, like, this is kind of like the basic kind of strategy you'd have when you're doing targeting. Obviously, you have your campaign set up, you have your specific ad groups, and then the keywords associated. You want to make sure that you're utilizing negative keywords because exact match really isn't all that exact these days. And so one of the things that you need to be doing is getting in the account often to see what the heck are people actually typing in, and is it relevant, right? You're not going to be able to, nobody can have the foresight to like what some jamoke is going to put into Google. You can't. And then you kind of break down, what your ad copy looks like, extensions, etc. So that's generally how it's set up. But on the targeting side of things, targeting is the whole point of it is to get more visibility, right? So targeting is how you get more of the right people in front of your audience, right? So it's all about like, what they're searching. So Google being, oh yeah, Jessica, it is not set and forget. And it's wild running a PPC agency when like, if they've gotten good results for like 12 months, they're like, well, what would you say you do here? It's like, you have no idea about everything that goes into this daily. Which is if you're running an agency, which is why I always have like constant updates. So they don't feel like you're setting and forgetting, because they'll still feel like that, even if you're not. Google search being keyword driven, what keywords and phrases describe your offer or your services. Put yourself in your customer's shoes. What would you search for? There's also a bunch of different keyword tools, like Google provides them. There's also great stuff you can use. A lot of the organic search tools like help with this too. Like you can see what would people actually type? What are the phrases? You start with especially with targeting, start with, and it's a new account, start with broader kind of topics and then wean down. It's easier to kind of cast a net and then pull it in than it is to start really tight and then expand out. And so that's kind of more on the targeting side of things. Think solution focused keywords, problem focused keywords? What are the things that people would be putting in if that's going to put them in that immediate state to be in a either consideration or buying decision mode, right? So that's how you need to be thinking about targeting on Google search. And then you kind of group them down by theme. So like for like attorneys, like tax attorney near me, tax lawyer near me, best tax attorney, Los Angeles. And then you could kind of like IRS tax attorney. And so you start grouping them like business tax attorney. Okay, that's all we really had there. But as you're putting these together, group by themes. And that's how you can also start breaking it down into the types of campaigns that you'll be doing, right? So when you're thinking about keyword groups, that's how you can start building out the different campaigns. And that's what's going to be kind of like informing what shows up on your landing page, what shows up in your ad copy, what shows up across the board. And then, like I said, you can get ideas about volume and insights directly from Google. Obviously, they're looking into the past and they'll be making assumptions about what they'll see in the future. But it's a good way to kind of get some new ideas. I was actually doing that today for somebody that's a plastic surgeon, like just stuff on the face, just face stuff, but like not like Botox, like so just face stuff. So trying to figure out like, all right, how do we target those? And then obviously you'd be like, great. So like rhinoplasty, these types of things. And then negatives would be like Botox, injectables, those types of things that even is tough to even do on Google because there's so many restrictions. And then the big one is like, if you're going to spend money on, trying to get people to your site through Google search, which is probably one of the most expensive ways to drive traffic, you gotta have retargeting audiences to bring them back. Because the fact of the matter is, like a very small percentage of people are going to convert from a first touch Google ad. Very, very small percentage of people. You need to bring them back. It will cut your ad costs remarkably based off of like just not in comparison to people who don't do this, right? In most cases, it doubles the efficiency of the campaigns that we're seeing. JJ, have you seen? Can you speak to anything that you're seeing from clients? If you have anybody that you were kind of monitoring, like what they were doing on the paid side of things, do you have anything there?
Yeah, it's we don't have like a ton of visibility on like the agency strategy.
Yeah.
Like usually it's like we're over here like, hey, this channel or these like type of things aren't working as great as the others. But yeah, it's I think the biggest thing with audiences that we're seeing is like using like your own data to make audiences. Yes. So like that's retargeting, just better known retargeting of like if you have like kind of those churned out customers, or if you have old accounts, or if you have those sort of things, and then piping those back into the ad platforms and then making their lookalikes or retargeting audiences, etc., from those types of things.
Exactly.
And that's like one of the types of things that we do. So yeah.
No, those and that's the absolute way to do it. And like if you have a large enough list of people who have converted before and existing customers, that's going to start, being a good way to remind that you exist if you can sell them additional things, or build lookalike audiences to find people who are more like them based on all the data points there. And then also there's just the real basic one of like, if they visited your website and did not convert, you should be following around, making sure that they're coming back. Right. All right. So real quick, based off of kind of what I was talking about between visibility, engagement, and conversion, like what happens if you're not getting enough impressions, no ad views? Like put in the chat there. Like if you're not getting enough impressions, people aren't seeing things, like what's happening there? I'll give people a second.
Everyone's writing out their detailed responses. I know it.
Well, really what you're running into is you've baby company relying on search, broad and tight. There it is. Your targeting is way too tight. If you're not getting the ad views, you started too direct, and you're just not going to get the impressions necessary to do anything consequential down the line. So Lindy, that's it. Nailed it. Perfect.
All the points attention to Lindy.
I appreciate it. I know. Like these trainings / webinars / podcast plus, like we'll give out points, but the points don't matter. So ad copy and creative, this is what's going to acquire more off. Like this is going to get you, and now that you're getting views, this is going to get people to actually click to your page and go for the offer, right? So search ads must have, like, you use a level of empathy, but be direct, right? You don't need to be too cute. People are searching for a very particular thing. Make sure that they're finding it. Make sure to have to target keywords and headlines. You can have dynamic keyword insertion there, so that's not too much of a problem. Have several call to action variations in your headline. Use title case. I don't need to read all of these; they're on the screen. But these are kind of the length limits for people to know when you get into the Google Ads side of things, right? Retargeting. This is, you can include videos. You can and should include videos in your remarketing campaigns. Video tends to work well. You want to make sure you have enough different types of ad assets, because most of these are going to be pulled from a number of different pieces of creative that then Google will smush together and try to find the optimal version through multivariate testing, right? So got to make sure you have a consistent continued message from where they landed first, and then make sure you have enough ad assets that it would be intriguing for them to click and come back. So another pop quiz. What does a low click-through rate tell you on a Google ad?
And while they're writing that, Justin, question for you about on the your retargeting. Do you what are your thoughts about third-party retargeting, like AdRoll, for example, or Criteo, and those types of things? Because I know there's those are out there in the world.
They're out there. We actually have clients who use them. So, but it's one of those because you have this kind of omni retargeting, omni marketing type thing. They very low CTR on those. Yeah. Very, very, very low. The people that are clicking on those and convert, they're going to have to be probably they'll be they probably would have converted otherwise somewhere else, but you just finally happen to catch them somewhere, right? So I feel I look at AdRoll and those things. I think there's a place for them in marketing, but I look at them as a Hail Mary, right? It's your Hail Mary retargeting. It's kind of when you see the what are they called? The cold outreach type things when somebody sends you something and they're like, hey, this is my last ditch effort. I feel that's the ad equivalent of that, because they do those different networks do show up in kind of odd spots, right? But yeah, it doesn't hurt because it's not terribly expensive. That's the other thing, especially if you're working with somebody that's a provider for you and you're not kind of footing the bill. It's not unbelievably expensive, but it has a lower engagement rate and thus a lower conversion rate. Gotcha. Is what I've seen.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool. Well, now we've got a lot of answers to your
question. I did. Awesome. And I love it. So most weak ad copy, bad ad. And yeah, so pretty much what you're seeing is that your ad isn't matching, or you're not conveying kind of the solution that they're looking for that you set with your targeting, right? So you're not consistent between the keyword they're putting in and then what you're offering them there. So yeah, so it can be both a targeting copy mismatch or just no CTA, no anything. So this one, lots of great stuff in there. Everybody gets points because it was all great. They're all great responses. Weak ad copy, bad ad, maybe it doesn't fit what they're searching for. Jessica nailed that one. That was the other side that I wanted to make sure people really dug into. Because again, you could have the best ad in the world, but if your targeting is off, your host, right? You could have all the CTAs, but if your targeting is off, your host, right? So finally, the landing page. This is what I believe is your highest leverage opportunity to generate leads and sales. And most landing pages stink, or they send it to the homepage. Like I was saying, all of these conversion rates, with exception to kind of the ones in the 15 and the 13, they're still should, if you're using a landing page, be able to get into double digits if you've done everything correctly across the board. We actually just did a webinar on this last week or 2 weeks ago, where we have landing pages converting the double digits, and it's actually the best isn't even 30%. Best is at 47% right now in the local service space. And this is kind of our breakdown and formula there for page structure, and it just flat out works. And if you're not in this space, there's still things you can glean from this, where it's very, very simple right there. You have in your position one kind of section here, you're introducing, so you're reminding them why they're there, metal roofers in your area. The ask is here. So what is it? What's the ask, right? And then likely your fold is going to be about here, or depending on the screen, about there. So you break the fold so they know there's stuff underneath there. And then you can kind of keep breaking down, okay, reiterate the CTA, remind them again, about all the great stuff that they just kind of came for the page for. get your proof into there and all these other kind of breakdowns. That's kind of how this thing follows. And that can work anywhere. But notice no navigation in this case. Very, very focused. It's one offer, and it's an offer consistent with the click. Okay. So this was the one that was doing 30%. And then we had just done this. We had one at 47 and 49%. And then I know even like, and that's not just for Google. Like if you're on Facebook, being very, very focused, we have a lead gen ad right now for our smart niche sheet that's doing what? 57%. So more than half of the people that click on that ad give us their email address. That's not like that's a really higher up in the funnel type offer, but it just works. So if you're in the single digits, don't go back to, don't be like, oh, hey, well, this seems okay. Again, remember, don't treat it as gospel, right? There are ways that you can improve those things. And that, like, there's a lot of different indicators that can tell you that as well. Like how long have they spent on the page? How far have they scrolled down the page? What are they interacting with? So just stuff to consider there as well. Okay, so final pop quiz for the day. See who's going to get some more points. What does a low landing page conversion rate tell you?
While the people are answering that question, we had a client do like like they're in the kind of like information space, like the infopreneur space, and had a cheat sheet that was doing like 62% conversion rate from ads. And I was just like, what? Like we had to check everything we thought was broken.
You think it's broken? Yeah, you think it's broken.
Yeah, and that happens for us. Like we have a cheat sheet over on lookerstudio.vip that converts, I think it's like 42%.
That's awesome.
Like all the time, no questions asked. Like that's what it's been for a long time. And it's like the worst landing page. No one wants to see like what not to do. Or maybe it's what to do. You never know. Like go to lookerstudio.vip/cheat sheet and you'll like see a landing page that like is just a form. There's like not even like it's like one line of copy. It's like optimize your dashboards every time you push publish. Yeah. First name, email address.
No, that's like, I mean, that's like that smart niche one. Very simple too. It's like, we have a picture of it and we just go like, do you like 64 niches, like what to do, and burp, done. Yeah. Like simplicity works. And the responses coming in, like, I love the stuff coming in because the amount of persuasion you need to make and the amount and like what you can ask for, like in terms of form fields and all those things, are directly related to how like the perceived value at that time by the person, right? And actual value. But if they know that there's high value in this cheat sheet, or if they know like, or let's go back even to like the local service world where they know they just need a good plumber or somebody reputable to come to the house, right? You just have to like affirm and reaffirm that what they clicked on, which is which solved that initial issue, is actually they're at the right place. You know, reconfirm that, and then just make it a no-brainer to take the next step. That's all you need to really do, right? And so when people are talking about the pages here, Alan, they're using the homepage. Yes, like don't use the homepage. Potentially fixing the CTA, button placement, copy, etc. That's important too, because you just like if you're making the wrong ask in the wrong place, that's a problem. Or if it's inconsistent with, you know, the ad they clicked on. So this come back down to the consistency side of things, which Dina nailed, and they have too many form fields to complete. Yeah, some people want way too much. There's another one today. It was for a plumbing quote, and they had like 17 form fields. Like why? Yeah. I don't need to do that. Yeah. So cool. That was awesome. Thanks everybody for jumping in. So a quick thing on spend and trends that we're seeing based on our data points. We pulled our data from 2012 to kind of share and we've spent probably around like, I think I said, 165 million in ad spend over this period of time. And it's just spiking up even more. Like I think we're up to, it's going pretty nice. But anyways, so we're looking you can see CPM. So cost per 1,000. Remember I was with a friend of mine. I'll leave him unnamed because he'd be very embarrassed, but if someone adds me on LinkedIn, I'll tell you who it was. And so he thought CPM was cost per million. And I remember him saying it very, very confidently. So that's not that, it's cost per 1,000. So what does it cost for 1,000 impressions? That has been going up consistently. You saw a drop, but then a pretty big spike going into 2022. what we were also seeing was just CPCs, like they really spiked between 2016 and 2018, stayed relatively consistent, but then another jump in 2022 through the end of 2022 as well. What we did see, like, and this is within our own data set, so this isn't Google's data, right? This is ours. What we did see with our stuff, and this is a backdoor brag, we saw cost for conversion decrease. Like, how is that possible, right? All of these other things are going up. It's because we were able to maximize conversions after the fact, right? If clicks are very expensive, you want to make sure that most of those clicks are converting, right? And so that comes to making sure you have consistent messaging from the targeting stage all the way to the conversion stage, right? So are Google ads still worth it? We get that question a lot. Aren't Google ads very expensive? Yes, they're expensive, but yes, it's still worth it. Like when you have somebody who's an expert in the field, like a lower CPA and higher conversion is what they'll get you. Not everybody can do that, right? So that's kind of breaking down the trends and things we were seeing over the past 10 years. And then yeah, so those are my details again. And then we got a few more questions, and then we can close this beast out.
Yeah, let me see if this button works. Did that? Oh, it did. Yeah. So I guess Alan, how do you handle client questions about incremental attribution, incremental sales from advertising? Oh boy, Oof. The attribution word.
The A word. Really. So when you say incremental attribution, can you give me a little bit more, context? Because I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly here. So yeah, Alan, if you can dig in a little bit more there, that'd be great. But incremental sales from advertising for us, when we have, because we're doing mostly the lead generation side of things, their sales are going to be dictated based off of kind of like how they close like the leads and the deals that are going on there. So that one's tough. I don't have a good kind of breakdown there. If they're not seeing, not carrying all sales, meaning some of the sales. Oh, okay, cool. How we handle that, if anything coming from ads, like if people are doing standard like searches and then like they're hitting a branded search or something that they rather would have just hit like their main website, there's not a whole lot you can really do in that scenario. But how we make sure that we're kind of like we have call tracking in place. So if if they type a number, it's in the ad extension. So if they see that particular number, that would still be attributed to the ad. But if they're using like the main website number, then it wouldn't be attributed to the ad, right? Lead forms we don't have shared lead forms anywhere. So the only places that you can kind of connect with those would be on the ad landing page. So we're trying to put everything into a silo for that reason, where like we want to mitigate that. But yeah, there's going to be cases where people are like, oh, if you're running a brand campaign, like, oh, like Joe Schmo plumber, and they just wanted to find his like information, and the ad shows up. Should you attribute it? Probably not, but it's also why the ad exists. Because if somebody beat him in organic, then he would have been host. So yeah. Or if someone did a competitive ad, he would have been host. Yeah.
Oh, we got a chunky one from Jessica over here. Let's just.
Yeah, this is more. Could you do a webinar on large scale PPC campaigns? Yeah.
Like non-local targeting. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Stay tuned in the future. You never know. Like we might have one. I don't know, Justin. Do you guys ever do webinars on things like that, or
I think
not as much?
Like the concepts hold. Like I like to use our first party data for a lot of stuff. So like you'd get less of that. But yeah, like what you're like non-local targeting, you don't need to worry about. I guess you can take a lot of these lessons, like if you're doing global, national, or whatever, and it's going to all kind of hold the same. Where it's like, what are your branded campaigns going to look like, and then where do you want them to go? What are your non-brand keywords? So like, what are the things that are like the local equivalent of like plumber near me, right? So like at Teamwork, it was like project management software, like PM Solutions, PM software. project management for small companies, project management for agencies, project management. Those all fall under the bucket of non-branded, right? So you have brand, non-brand, competitive, and retargeting. All of those things, like that breakdown in terms of like how you do your targeting, how you write your ads, and what the landing page should be like, would hold true whether you're a local business or a large business. What would change is your targeting and ad structures. That's about that.
And ad spend.
And ad spend significantly. Oh my God, significantly.
Yeah. You're like, yes, when you just add a couple zeros, maybe a
Yeah,
comma here and there, you're good
Just
to go.
you need commas in there for sure.
Awesome, Justin. Well, this is super great. I think, yeah, hopefully everybody enjoyed. And if you're watching the replay, all the things still apply. You just didn't get to ask your question. So to the other few hundred people that are going to watch the replay, you missed out. But all right, it's been a pleasure. It always is. And yeah, thank you so much. We'll see everybody in the next one.
Take it easy, y'all.